You know, when you look at a honeybee hive, it seems like this perfect, buzzing fortress. But on the inside, it's a constant battle. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at all the enemies laying siege to that fortress, every single day. We're talking everything from annoying trespassers all the way to assassins that can bring down an entire kingdom. So, let's dive in.
I mean, for all their stingers and defenses, a honeybee colony is basically a treasure chest filled with honey, pollen, and protein. And that makes it a massive target for a surprisingly long list of predators and parasites. So who exactly are these villains in the honeybee's story?
So here's the game plan. We're going to start with the minor leagues, the pests that are more of a nuisance than a real nightmare. Then we'll go deeper into the hive and uncover the saboteurs, the ones working from the inside. From there, the threat level ramps up to the real colony killers. We'll even check the skies and the ground for other predators before we look at the one key ally that can really turn the tide in this war.
Okay, first up, the nuisance intruders. You should think of these guys as pests of opportunity. If you've got a strong, healthy hive, they can usually handle these guys no problem. They're definitely an annoyance, but they very rarely threaten the whole colony's survival.
And kicking things off for us is a creature with a name and a look that sounds like it's straight out of a horror movie, the Death's Head hawk moth.
Yeah, with that spooky, skull-like pattern on its back, you'd think the Death's Head hawk moth would be public enemy number one. But honestly, its intimidating look is pretty much a bluff. This moth is really just a clumsy honey thief. It's so big that it makes for an easy target, and the hive's guard bees just swarm it and take it down pretty quickly. Beekeepers actually find them dead inside the hive all the time, which is basically proof that the hive's security system is working perfectly.
Next up in the nuisance category is a tiny little pest that likes to get, well, up close and personal, the lesser bee louse. Now, despite its name, this isn't actually a louse. It's a tiny insect that's more like an annoying hitchhiker. It loves to latch onto bees, especially the queen. It doesn't feed on them, but it's just a constant source of irritation and stress. And while it's definitely unsettling to see, a strong colony can usually handle these little freeloaders, which means their overall impact is pretty low. All right, so now we're moving on from just uninvited guests to the real saboteurs. These pests don't just want to steal some food. They attack the very foundation of the hive, and they destroy it from the inside out. So, meet the wax moths. Now, the adult moth, not really the problem. It's their kids you really have to worry about. The larvae of the wax moth are just these voracious demolition experts, and their number one target is the hive's precious wax comb.
But not all wax moths are created equal. The larvae of the greater wax moth, they're like a full-on demolition crew. They just chew tunnels right through the comb, leaving behind this total mess of silk and debris. The lesser wax moth, on the other hand, is a little more subtle, kind of like a vandal. It tunnels just under the surface of the wax, which damages the developing baby bees underneath and creates this bald brood look. For a weak colony, either one of these infestations can be absolutely devastating.
Okay, things are about to get serious. We are now escalating to the top tier of threats. These are the colony killers, the pests and predators that can bring down an entire hive, sometimes with terrifying speed. If there is a single persistent nightmare that all beekeepers share, it is this, the Varroa mite. It's tiny, it's relentless, and it's unbelievably destructive. This quote really gets right to the heart of it. The Varroa mite isn't just some seasonal problem, it's a year-round war. This parasite feeds on adult bees, and it reproduces inside the brood cells, which weakens the next generation before they even have a chance to hatch. But the real damage, the truly devastating part, comes from what it leaves behind. The mite is a carrier for a whole cocktail of deadly viruses, and those viruses spread through the colony like wildfire. This one-two punch makes it, without a doubt, the single greatest threat to honeybees on the planet.
All right, next up is a threat that feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. It operates with this terrifying, almost surgical precision, the parasitic fly.
The life cycle of this fly is pure body horror. It all starts when a fly injects an egg directly into a bee's abdomen. The larva hatches and then just starts consuming the bee from the inside out. Then things get really weird. The parasite basically hijacks the bee's brain. It makes the bee abandon the hive at night and fly erratically towards lights. They even call them zombie bees. After the bee finally dies, the fully grown larva emerges from its body. It is a terrifying strategy that weakens the colony from within, one bee at a time.
Now here's something that's super important to understand. Not all buzzing yellow and black insects are the same.
You absolutely have to know the difference between the red hornet and your common yellow wasp. Yellow wasps, sure, they might sneak into a hive to steal a little honey, but they're a very low threat. The red hornet, though, that is an apex predator in the bee world. It actively hunts and kills worker bees, and a determined group of them can overwhelm and completely destroy a colony, especially from spring through the fall.
And the hit list doesn't stop there. The bee wolf is basically a specialized assassin, snatching bees right out of the air to feed its young. And while a single ant is no match for a bee, an entire army of them, that's a different story. A mass invasion can strip a hive completely bare of its honey, its eggs, and its larvae, forcing the whole colony to either flee or starve.
So you might think all the threats are just other insects, right? Well, think again. The hive's riches also attract predators from the wider animal kingdom, and they attack from the sky above and the ground below. From the sky, you have the bee-eater bird, and it definitely lives up to its name. This is a high-level threat. It's an expert at snatching workers, drones, and even queens right in mid-flight. But its impact is even bigger than that. The mere presence of these birds can intimidate a whole colony into a self-imposed lockdown, stopping them from going on vital foraging trips. And down on the ground, you've got frogs, who become these patient opportunists, just waiting near the hive entrance to pick off any weak or struggling bees.
So after going through this whole rogues gallery of threats, from the ones that are just annoying to the ones that are absolutely devastating, what is the single most important defense a colony has? Well, the answer is the beekeeper. In the end, protecting a hive is really an alliance. The bees, they have their own defenses, of course, but they can get overwhelmed. A beekeeper brings knowledge to the fight, the ability to identify these threats, and the vigilance to act before it's too late. They are the ultimate guardian, the one factor that can consistently tilt the scales back in the colony's favor in this relentless battle for survival.
I mean, when you really stop and consider the sheer number and the variety of enemies that a honeybee colony faces day in and day out, their survival is nothing short of remarkable. It is a constant, daily, hourly struggle against all these forces trying to tear them down from the inside and out. And it kind of leaves us with a final question to think about. What can the incredible resilience of this one superorganism in the face of so much adversity teach us about our own world?